Hi,
Carol.
Dana. Good to see you.
Yeah, you too. So, Carol, I
Thanks.
wanted to ask you a few questions. You were a therapist for many years, my
Sure.
mentor, director of a program in a school. Wanted to ask you some questions about therapy.
Great.
Who do you think needs therapy? What kind of person?
Anyone, anyone can benefit from therapy. I think sometimes people are worried that it's, going to uncover some dark secrets that they may have. And I think therapy is just meant to help you get to where you want to go, and have someone to do that with and help you get there maybe faster.
Okay. Some of the feedback I get from people looking for therapy is, are my problems aren't that bad. It's not that serious. I don't have a real mental illness, but, I feel a little stuck. I'm not sure where to go. What would you say to a person like that?
Some of those feelings are really normal. We all get stuck at certain times in our lives, based on where you are in life and what's going on. And sometimes it's helpful to just have somebody to walk through that with. A lot of people talk to friends, talk to family, cousins, whatever, or coworkers. But I think therapy offers you a safe space to do that and to really dig a little deeper and figure out why you're stuck and how to undo that, basically.
Cool, thanks. So you also coached for many years. How many years were you a coach?
Yes, about 23 years. I
Okay.
loved it. Yeah.
How would you see um, your work with kids intertwine with therapy, right? So that coaching, mentoring lane, how does that interact with therapy or, checking in on people and working with them in a mentoring role?
I mean, I think that being a coach and a therapist at the same time was really, really beneficial for me, because it helped me to kind of just help the students move through life, right? And as a coach, you're trying to get people to do things they've maybe never done before, or you're a motivator sometimes, and you're a coach, and then you're a mentor, and you're a teacher, and you're all of that. And I find it to be exactly the same when you're in a therapeutic session. And most of the times, the students I worked with or their families, I would say to them, well, you know more about yourself than I do, right? So you're going to help yourself. I'm just going to, tell you the things that has worked for other people, right? Just like a coach would, right? I played sports, and as a coach, I've seen other athletes learn skills, and everybody learns differently. So, I would say, okay, well, other people learn this skill this way. Let's try this. So I saw it. For me, it was all inclusive. It was an all inclusive thing, the coaching and the therapy. It was helpful.
Cool. One of the things that you taught me along the way was how to just talk to people. In the mental health field, people get really interested in jargon and diagnosing. And one of the things I thought that you were an expert at was making things relatable to kids and their parents. I remember things that you would say. You would tell kids, depression is, if who you are on the inside and who you are on the outside don't match, right? Those things can't come together. And so there's an aspect of that that's feeling depressed. You would normalize things like that, right? We would talk about things like, fear is your anxiety, right? But your fear is your imagination undirected. Can you
Yes.
talk a little bit about like why you would come up with these phrases and how you would make it relatable to people? Because I think sometimes therapists want to be a therapist and they don't realize how to relate things to people and make it understandable and normal. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, of course. I had a crash course. I, started working in a high school with teenagers, and I worked with older therapists who used a lot of jargon. And I would constantly just in my own head be like, well, I have no idea what that means. And then I thought I didn't know what I was doing, and it made me feel worse, right, working with people. And so when I realized that the jargon didn't really mean anything, it was just jargon. It wasn't helpful. It wasn't helpful for anybody. It was just somebody who was trying to prove that they knew things that they couldn't really teach somebody how to use, right? So when I started working with students, one of the first things I did was I tried to teach them why they acted the way they did, like what was going on, like physiology wise inside their body, reacting, moving into a fight or flight response, which is really normal, and our body is made to do that, right? But in this day and age, we're not running from, a lion who's trying to eat us. It's different, right? Our fears are a little different, but it still feels the same way, and our body still goes into that fight or flight response. And fear is normal. We all are afraid. And I even say it to my 9-year-old son. I'm like, being brave doesn't mean you're not afraid. It means you're afraid, but you do it anyway, right? You try it anyway. That's brave. Like, I think sometimes movies and the world creates these heroes, and everybody thinks, oh, they're just naturally like that. No, they're not. They've grown into that, that brave moment, or they've worked up to that. So for me, it was breaking it down so that students would understand it. And I would ask all the time, do you understand what that means? Let me give you an example. Okay. Say it back to me so I understand you understand what's going on for you. And so all of a sudden I would see like a light bulb go on to go, oh yeah, so that's that rush of adrenaline I get, or that feeling I get, and for adults, I would use the example of like, did you ever get pulled over by the police and you get that feeling that comes right into your chest? Like, yeah, that's fear, that's anxiety, that's fight or flight, right? And so you just use examples, because everybody, like anybody that's gotten pulled over knows that one. So yeah. So that's how it happened for me.
Cool. I appreciate those thoughts too, because I think it's helpful for the mental health community. In the work that I do in a lot of different areas, people don't understand that these things are so normal, right? And that's something that you always shared with people was, hey, this is normal. And it almost gives people a comfort in, just understanding themselves and that building that insight.
Yeah, exactly. I think, when any of us go through a very difficult time or are feeling anxious or depressed, it's normal to feel depressed with the loss of a loved one. It's normal to feel depressed when, your boyfriend leaves you. It's normal to feel anxious when you're trying something new or you're not sure where you're going, on your path. Like those are all normal feelings, and you just keep moving, right? You just keep moving in the direction that you want to go, and then eventually that'll calm, and then it'll come back. But I feel like, again, in our world, in our society, the Facebook, the social media, everybody posts everything that's perfect, like the perfect picture, the perfect vacation. And we don't really see behind the scenes, like, how did you get to that perfect vacation? How did you get that family? And then the times when, the kids aren't doing their homework and there's possibly yelling going on in the house, or whatever. You don't see that. And so I think it's, it's hard for people to know, oh, everybody's gone through that.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Can I ask another question? So in the program that you ran, you did lots and lots and lots of different types of activities. At one point you were doing yoga for teachers and students. You ran a ropes course, that challenge by choice, old school, trying to build courage, getting people outside of their comfort zone. I'm curious from a therapist standpoint, how you see those things as also being therapeutic. How did that enhance, like the service that you gave to people?
I've always been like a kinesthetic learner. hands-on, like involve me, and I'll remember and understand, right? I was not that, if I hear it, maybe I'll remember it. I was involve me. And I think that when people are going one step past their comfort zone, which was always one of our key phrases on the ropes course, on a challenge course, people get to a certain point and they're stuck, right? And it was like, okay, can you take one more step, just one more step? And typically when they took that one more step, they were able to do it. They didn't think they could, right? And so you always pushed. And I just feel like when you're doing something that's completely emotional and physical at the same time, there's an anchor physically in your body and emotionally that you can't unlearn or not remember. I think it's a much stronger anchor for you of a feeling. So when you get into, or the client gets into a situation where they're afraid, they're scared, or they don't feel like they could go any farther, they've had that experience. They've had it emotionally, they've had it physically. And so, I think that's really important.
Yeah, I agree. In my own life, and I've seen it in a lot of clients too, it's, the in-office therapy is really tremendous. But when you put movement to things that you're going through, it helps you get unstuck, that embodiment. You get out of your head into your body and feel it and do it. And I see it time and time again, these just giant breakthroughs and light bulb moments for people when they can use both. So yeah, that's really cool.
I think so. So, talking about all this, my mind is really, so what made you think of surf therapy? It's perfect. I love it. I used to surf on Long Beach Island all the time. And so it's near and dear to my heart. So what a great idea. How did that come about?
Thanks. Yeah, so personally, it is something that changed my life. I was trying to figure out some pieces about, it was when I came home from the Peace Corps. I lived in Fiji, and I was trying to figure out, okay, what's my place here now? How do I take all this information that I just learned and integrate it back home? And what's my mission in life? And, relationships and all sorts of stuff I was trying to work through. And a friend of mine encouraged me to go surf, and it started unlocking in me almost these like levels of thought that I had never really done. I have a lot of education. I have 2 master's degrees. I worked a lot. I worked very, very hard. And I lived in this busy culture, right? This culture of always having something to do, always having somewhere to be. And I never really stood still. So that was my first real leap into surfing. And it wasn't until a few years later that I realized how good it was for other people. I would bring my family with me, my friends with me, and just the joy that would come out of them. And people would talk about, they would have these like aha moments with things that have been weighing on them for so long, and so it kind of took this organic stage for me, that when it was time for me to open up a practice for our community, I thought there really wasn't anything that I wanted to do more than to offer something that was really welcoming, challenging, right? We both know, Carol, you were an athlete much more than I was. When you challenge yourself, you find out who you are, right? You get answers to questions. So my friend's daughter was, going through some stuff, and I said, hey, come on, let's go surf. She wound up getting addicted to it, and she would wake up, a high school kid, 4 o'clock in the morning every day to come surf. And she just grew this light in her, and I think it really helped her to shine. And she was a real person for me too, that I started to understand that this is bigger than me. This isn't a me thing. I would start talking to surfers and had more surfer friends and would listen to the way they talked. And I went, holy cow, we can really combine our 2 worlds. It's really powerful.
Yeah. And surfing is such a unique, fun thing. Like, there's probably not one person in the world that doesn't want to try surfing, right? But where do you get the board? How do you know where to surf and those kinds of things? So how fun to just put those pieces together. It's really great.
I really wanted to take something that, you know, for some people it really is intimidating if you don't have a friend to go with, if you don't have somebody to do it with. You know, I talk with people, they call me, you know, they want to get into surf therapy and they'll say, hey, you know, I did surf years and years ago. Went out on a board. I had a crazy experience, and, you know, the ocean is what it is, right? Some days it's like beautiful and calm, and other days it'll chew you up. So, you know, people do want somebody to go with. People want community. People want somebody to share their experience with. I mean, who doesn't want to laugh and joke around and, you know, have a little bit of fun too, right? Like yes, it's like deep and heavy and meaningful, but it's also like really fun. We have a really good time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know anybody that wants to go out in the ocean by themselves. That's just something you want to do with somebody, just like anything, right? Like any great experience, you want to share it. So I think it's wonderful.